Good evening. I'm Anchor Pete, and I'm here with my daughter Pepper.
Hola.
And we are here to talk about episode 8 of Superman and Lois. Pepper, you know how many episodes there are for Superman and Lois?
No.
There's going to be 15 altogether.
So for one season, or
for one season?
Okay. So there's going to be multiple seasons, correct?
Probably. It all depends on how well the show is doing, and I think the show is doing pretty well so far. I think it's got its fans. So tonight, the episode is entitled "Holding the Wrench." Now I'm going to hit you with a hard question right off the bat. Why in the heck is this episode called "Holding the Wrench"? Do you think?
Well, in one scene, and it's kind of important before Jonathan screws up. He's holding a wrench.
He's holding a wrench?
Yeah.
Yeah. that scene, it's kind of funny because Lois is sort of the main star of this episode here. Let's move a little closer so we're both in the frame. Lois is really the standout character of this episode, right? And the show is kind of framed with Lois talking to this therapist who Sherry looked her up. Her name's Wendy Crewson, is the actress. And apparently she was like a character that was on Smallville. I should let you guys know that, like, I actually have not watched the show Smallville, so I'm not a big fan of it. I don't know much about it. But one cool thing about these CW superhero shows is they really like to give credit to older shows and the comics, of course, too. So, Pepper, what was one of the things that they revealed about Lois? Like, what was the secret that she revealed in the therapy? Do you remember?
She had a miscarriage. They said all this stuff, and I was a little like, oh, dear me.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. That's something that's never happened in the Superman comics before. And it hasn't happened in any of the movies or anything like that. Lois Lane has had a kid before multiple times. And there was a movie called Superman Returns, and she had a son. I can't remember if his name was Jonathan. But then in the comics, she's had a son named Jonathan, too. And then in this show, of course, there's Jonathan and Jordan. But in this, was it a boy or a girl?
It was a girl.
Yeah, so she was going to have a girl.
And his name was going to be Natalie, which I think is referring to the other universe where they do have a daughter named Natalie and no sons.
Oh, okay. You know, Pepper, I'm really glad that you watched this with me because I actually, I was a little bit distracted tonight. I had some family issues going on with my family in New York and stuff. And so I didn't even know, I kind of missed a little bit of the show. But so that was the name of the daughter?
Yes, they were going to name the miscarriage baby Natalie.
Oh, okay.
And you know how Mommy was saying that if Natalie was going to become a love interest for the brothers? Well, I thought about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And considering that she has their mom's DNA in her,
mm-hmm.
I think they might be a little weirded out.
Yeah.
Like, to have that sort of relationship. If you kiss her, it'll be like kissing your mom almost.
Or kissing your sister, right?
Or kissing your sister.
Yeah.
You're like your half-sister.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And that's kind of creepy because it's the same mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always incest on, like, every show that we watch for some reason. Me and your mom just reviewed a show where there's incest, too. I don't know what's going on with TV these days. People love to put incest into stuff. Well, anyway, they're probably not going to have them get together, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think she's dead also.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Considering how he's always has that memory replaying, Lex Luthor or whatever.
No,
John Henry Irons.
Yeah.
How he always has that memory of, I'll be right back. I assume something bad happened to her when he left.
Yeah, well, I was a little bit confused about that because there was one part where I had to step out. And, like, when I came back, they showed John Henry Irons in some sort of ship. And then Superman was trying to break into it, the evil Superman of this other reality. So did they show anything before that? Like, did anything happen to his daughter before that?
No, we didn't see anything with his daughter. We only saw that he was, like, I'm pretty sure he was, like, going to the other dimension in that ship because there was, like, all that weird little gizmos.
Yeah. Did he explain why he was trying to go to another reality?
I believe it was just to get away from the Supermans because his reality was already destroyed. I assume he wouldn't leave without his daughter, though, so she must be dead.
She must be dead. That's a good point, Pepper. That's a good point. So, like I said, Lois, we had that revelation that she had a miscarriage, that she was going to have a daughter, and then Pepper just told us that the daughter's name was going to be Natalie. Besides that, Lois also kind of flipped out on Jonathan at one point.
Yes,
this
was like basically my favorite scene in the show because I always noticed when I'm watching the show that the twins lack something that Lois and
Clark
have.
What's that?
And I think it's probably because like Lois and Clark are more dignified, they're smarter, and they don't flip out like every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to watch Lois let loose.
Oh yeah.
And despite the tone she used, I thought what she said was actually kind of true. If he had died, it would have been his own stupidity.
Yeah.
That led him there. I wouldn't feel sorry for him.
Yeah. Well. So you're saying that she's more dignified or they're smarter. It's maybe more like wisdom, right? Because she's older. She's got wisdom. He's still a teenager.
Yeah, but like I bet Lois wasn't acting like that when she was a teenager. And despite that little flashback we saw from Superman in other episodes where he was mean to his mom, he always seems a little like nicer. And his kids are just like mean.
Yeah. Well, one kind of flaw with the show in general, right, is that you just kind of have this main core cast of 4 characters, right? Superman, Lois, and Jonathan and Jordan, right?
Well, I think John Henry Irons is becoming an important character.
Yeah.
But I also want to say something. With
Sure.
their names, I think we could use a bit of creativity. Like,
okay.
Honestly, there's John Henry Irons, which basically John, and then there's Jonathan.
Yeah.
And then there's Jordan. I'm just saying, how many J names are you gonna have? What's next? Jack?
That's a really good question. They said why they named him Jordan. Obviously, Jonathan makes sense because Superman's adopted father is Jonathan Kent, right? Oh, Jordan like Jor-El, right? Like because that's Superman's real dad is Jor-El from Krypton. So that's why I called him Jordan.
They just named that kid Jor-El. Then
you still have that
he goes to school.
Right?
And gets introduced. It's Jor-El.
Well, nowadays, I think Jor-El would probably be a perfectly normal name that people would name their kid, right? But
Superman fans.
But the reason why there's so much repetition with all their names is just because
comics are unoriginal.
There is that, but like when they named the original Superman characters, it was in a time when they would name people with alliteration, which means like, the first name and this last.
So
name.
If it was like, I would be probably more like Mitzi Marsh back then or something.
Yeah, Mitzi Marsh, that would be you. No, but like Peter Park, Pepper Potts, well, and she's more of a modern character. Peter Parker is even more modern than Superman, but he's Clark Kent, right? Lois Lane, Lana Lang, right? So, but anyway.
And then there's Leslie Lar.
Lex Luthor, right?
Debbie Salad.
Well, we made that name up. Yeah. Anyway,
I forget her real name. I knew it.
It's all good. We're going off on some tangents here, so let's bring it back to our discussion, though, right? So, Lois does like flip out completely on Jonathan, and later on, she mends the relationship. And when she does that, she brings up this point that I think you liked, which was that they're the 2 that don't have superpowers, right? They are the 2 that are normal, essentially, in this family. So that's their bond, right?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you call them? You called them like the averages or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I just have to say, in that family, I would not be able to live if I was one of the averages.
You would not be able to?
No, I would probably just be like, hey, Clark, we're getting a divorce. Because I cannot live. Especially if my dad was like General Lane and just always trying to take advantage of my husband. And if my husband was always off saving people.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I want to point out this one line where Clark was like, I do care about the people. And then, like, he's spending more time with his family than he is saving people's lives. Which I know is a good quality to spend time with your family and love them. I've been saying that the past few episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, man, he does nothing these days. Like, seriously. He's literally just tries to hunt down Kryptonites. Kryptonians. I'm just saying, there's a lot of other crime in the city unrelated to magic powers or anything. Superpowers.
Well, so are you saying that...
have you heard of robberies or murders or anything?
Okay, so you're saying he should go take care of some robberies and then get back to his family? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I say family time and then time with real crime.
Okay.
What's going on in his house is kind of a crime.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, that kind of brings up a point I wanted to make. On Twitter today, one of the people posted something, a Superman fan was like, tell me something controversial, a controversial point you have about Superman, right? And one person had this great point that I loved. They said that, I don't think that Lois is Superman's whole humanity, that Superman just loves humanity because of Lois. And, there's so many of these stories where, just like this show, there's this evil version of Superman, right? Where Superman becomes evil because Lois Lane dies. There's this Injustice video game. The Joker kills Lois Lane. Superman becomes evil. There is the Zack Snyder Superman movies, like Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel, where Lois Lane dies. Superman becomes evil, right? What I liked about this show and just Superman in general is that he loved humanity way before he met Lois Lane. He loved humanity growing up on the farm in Smallville. He cares about humans. Like Lois dying wouldn't necessarily make him into a murder machine. I'm hoping that the show does not come up to that kind of point where it's like, oh, Lois is going to die and he's going to become evil, But what is interesting about that?
It would upset him a lot, though.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I'm saying maybe he loved humanity before, but he didn't. He plunged deeper when he met Lois, probably.
Ah, yes, okay. It's like a more personal thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, though, I don't get what's so great about Lois or him. Like, I know he saves lives and stuff, but they seem pretty average to me. They got their problems. Lois was going to a freaking therapist today. I'm not saying she's perfect, but...
Well, believe me, a lot of people have to go to therapists, and it can be real successful people or everybody might want to see a counselor. But what I was going to say about the evil Superman that's in this other reality, what's interesting about him is that he's actually not with Lois, right? Lois in that reality was married.
He killed her.
Right, he killed Lois, so he didn't even have that Lois connection. So there's something about him that made him turn evil. And that's the reason why I made this one thumbnail for tonight's episode, for this live episode. The thumbnail that I used, Pep, I don't know if you saw it, but it had that soldier who had the Kryptonian powers fighting Superman, and I wrote the question, who are the Kryptonians, right? Because in this episode, John Henry Irons mentions how there were other Kryptonians, and they made Superman join their side, and he became evil in his world, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So it sounds like the theory that I keep talking about, where like these are like reincarnated Kryptonian people in human bodies. Sounds like that's what the show is doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
to be honest, I really like Leslie Lar because so far all the Kryptonian men that I've seen, they only want to use brute force to try and kill Superman. But I like her because her and Edge, because they're at least kind of gathering some sort of plan. And they seem more dignified. Like, honestly, if I was a Kryptonian and I was going to be evil, I would so go, like, sneakily kill people. Like, why do they have to do it? Also, I have a question about this guy.
So the guy, the soldier, Rossetti?
Yeah, the soldier, Rossetti, Italian dude. Anyways,
Yeah.
Why does he choose when there's security cameras on him, when like he's in a freaking military office? Why does he choose then to attack Superman? If there were all those weapons and he was a soldier and he had access to them, wouldn't it be a lot smarter to just steal a bunch and then wait till Superman's at a place privately, and then you can whoop his butt and no one will see and no one will try to stop you?
Yeah.
And I don't see why you have to have John Henry Irons there to do anything. He's a human.
Yeah, well, I actually really like that scene where Rossetti tried to take out Superman. Like, do you remember before I said the thing about how these CW shows kind of pay respect to the older shows and stuff and the comics? Well, so Rossetti is actually a guy from the comics. He was in a comic called the Human Defense Corps, which was like a military group that was protecting the Earth from aliens, right? And that comic didn't sell very well. People didn't really like that comic. That DC comic came out in 2003. But then there was this Superman storyline called New Krypton, where people from Krypton were on Earth, right, in the present day with Superman. And General Lane, Lois Lane's dad, and Lex Luthor and a bunch of people tried to like get rid of him. And they brought back this Rossetti guy. So he was in the comics, and it was kind of in a story that was very similar to what we're seeing on the show. Like, this show is definitely getting inspired by that New Krypton storyline. That's for sure.
Yeah. This show, I don't know. I don't know how much I would give it out of a 10.
Okay, well.
It definitely wouldn't be like 10. It would be more like, for me, 6.6.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I say this often when we review the show. I do like it better than some of the other CW shows. I actually really do like the guy that plays Clark, and I really like the woman that plays Lois Lane. I think they're a good version of those characters, especially like in this modern time. I think like Brandon Routh was maybe like the last guy that kind of captured the essence of Superman. He was the one that played Superman in Superman Returns. But it does kind of feel like there's just this one story arc and they're like really stretching it. Like if this is going to be the whole 15 episodes, is going to be this one story. Oh boy, I think we're going to be dying by the time episode 12 comes around.
Okay, well, there's one thing we haven't addressed that I want to mention.
Oh yes, of course.
This is the humor element of the entire show, and this is where we get our rom-com.
Okay, go ahead. I think I know what you're talking about.
This is called the Jordan/Singing with Sarah scene. It was just, I don't know why, but whenever there's singing shows like on the Disney Channel, singing like sections and stuff on the Disney Channel, when I'm watching TV shows like cartoons and stuff, anyways, then I just get so awkwarded out when they sing. I just have to fast forward.
Yeah.
For some reason, I start blushing, even though it's not even me on the stage. And this is the one that just really brought that out.
Yeah. It was
like,
pretty...
It was pretty forced. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying that they didn't do well, but it was clearly like just trying to make drama because there was nothing to do with Jordan this episode.
Yeah.
And also, not to mention, to make Sarah get mad at her dad again. Then to make her dad fail miserably.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, I wish that there was someone in this world that loved me as much as Sarah's dad loves Morgan Edge. Like, that guy is a Morgan Edge stan. Like, he really loves Morgan Edge.
I bet he does fan fiction.
He does. I think he does. Yeah. Like, he's got like a photoshopped picture of him and Morgan Edge, like, hugging each other.
No, that's his screen.
That's his screen. That's his background on his phone. He's like, oh, Morgan. But, yeah, well, there's a whole thing with the dad, too. But just to address that scene that you're talking about, the dad messes up because he's not there to, like, play the piano during the school town show.
No, he was going to play the guitar.
Oh, he was going to play the guitar.
Not to mention, I think the chords on the piano and guitar are a lot different. I don't know how Jordan could just play that easily, especially if he hadn't had practice in years. I've barely played the piano. I know, like, one song. But still, like, I know it's kind of hard to remember and stuff. So, like, I don't know how he'd just be like, oh, yeah, that's notes?
Yeah, well, just a little side note for you. Musical chords, the same notes, like, even though you have to do different things on different instruments, they're the same notes.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah.
So even with singing, would it be the same notes?
Yeah. But anyway, for that scene, right?
And also, even if he was reading the notes off, he just kept going back at her. So, like, I don't know how he'd see the notes and not miss any of them.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a pretty basic song, but I don't want to try to justify it. It's kind of a cheesy scene. Everyone uses that term. They say cringe. That was definitely a cringe-worthy scene. I
hate the word cringe. One boy at my school uses it and drives me crazy.
You cringe when someone says cringe? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, well, anyway, I thought it was a pretty cringe-worthy scene. I do like the relationship between those two characters. I do like Jordan and Sarah. I think that they should ultimately get together. Yeah, well, that's kind of the plight of the teenage superhero, right? A lot of times they end up in the friend zone because their superhero issues keep them from being a decent boyfriend. But anyway,
yeah, it's like that one scene in Spider-Man. I thought this was a little bit ridiculous when he's like got Venom possessing his body or whatever.
Oh, no.
And so he just starts dancing with that other girl.
Yes.
And then Mary Jane.
Yeah, with Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, she's dancing with Gwen Stacy, and then Mary Jane's just like, bruh.
Yeah.
I don't think they're even together, and he's still trying to flaunt it in her face that he's dancing with somebody else.
Well, I use the word cringe, even though you don't like it. That might be like the definitive cringe scene in a comic book movie, that Peter Parker dance scene, Anyway,
and then for some reason his hair is black. It's not even the right color.
Yeah.
Just because Venom's in him. I'd be like, hey, when'd you dye your hair, bro?
we could easily spend a half hour talking about that movie, easily, if not more.
Probably an hour.
Yeah. But what we should do is we should just address like what I talked about in the thumbnail, right? So it does seem like Kryptonians are coming back. In the comic I was telling you about, the new Krypton one, the way that worked was there's this villain named Brainiac in the comics. I think I may even mentioned this to you before on our show before, and he like shrinks down cities and puts them in little bubbles, like a aquarium, right? And so he took.
Oh, that'd be so cool. I love mini city collections and one in that much detail.
Yeah.
Not to mention you could pluck out the little people and like use them as toothpicks or something.
Yeah, all right. Well, anyway, so Brainiac did that for the city called Kandor, which is the city that Supergirl is from, right? And he had it on his ship. And in the comics, Superman was able to save the city, and he made it get bigger, and it was on Earth.
How? Enlarging is not one of his powers.
Yeah, I'm not even going to touch that one. But just basically, Brainiac used like a shrink ray. He just essentially like did the opposite. He used a ray to make it bigger, right?
And who knows if they have one of those. If I was going to go shrink cities, I wouldn't make a big ray. Why? It's not going to come in handy.
Well, I think in the comic, what happened was
I'd smash it.
Like the aquarium itself keeps it small, and then Superman like broke the aquarium and it got bigger. I think that's what happened. But anyway, so then you have this like city of thousands of Kryptonians on Earth, and you have all these people in the military saying like, "What do we do? We got to do something about that." And we see that in this episode. We see this whole section of this base that has these anti-Superman weapons. And I thought probably the most exciting scene was when John Henry Irons had this spear that you could stab a Kryptonian with. It had kryptonite on it. And he could have killed Superman, who was weakened at that point because of other kryptonite that he had been exposed to. And
I would have shot him in the head, though, so it's like kind of a no-go.
Well,
I probably would have killed Superman. If he killed my entire family and I had nothing left going for me, sorry, dude, you're going to die.
Yeah. Well, I kind of had anticipated that someone was going to come in at the last minute and like maybe tase him or something and just make him stop attacking Superman. But what they did, I really appreciated. They had Lois come in. Lois, it kind of appealed to him, his finer nature, and he didn't kill Superman. So I like that resolution a lot better than like someone just coming in and like stunning him or, knocking him out or something. So that was good. But then the end result was kind of funny because they're on the farm then, and now John Henry Irons is in this Winnebago on the Kent farm, but he doesn't know that Clark Kent is Superman. So like Clark Kent's just gonna be like
the
drink.
Same face.
He's gonna
glasses. If you put on glasses, no one will know.
Yeah, well that could be my last point that I make before we wrap this up. I actually do think when you watch the different versions of actors playing Superman, Christopher Reeve is the best one. There's this one scene in I believe Superman 2, maybe it's in the first one, where he goes to tell Lois that he's dressed up as Clark Kent, and he takes off his glasses, he goes to tell her he's Superman, but then he changes his mind and just goes back to being Clark. And you see that like Christopher Reeve, when he's Clark Kent, he walks kind of like with a hunch, and the whole way he moves and everything is different, and he does really look like a different guy. I should show you that scene. It's really incredible. And I actually do think that Tyler Hoechlin, the guy that plays Superman on this show, obviously you look at him and you're like, okay, that guy's Superman. But I think he does a very good job of kind of being dorky and...
Got a more casual dad walk rather than a I'm here to kill you walk.
Yeah, he really plays up that sort of dorky side. Henry Cavill as Clark Kent does not really play that up. He's just kind of bland. But
yeah, he's just like, don't you think you're a little bit harsh?
What is that from?
And that's my impersonation of when, Lois yelled Jonathan's ear off.
Oh, that was on this show.
You're a little bit harsh.
Yeah. But anyway, it's just going to be funny. Like, Clark sitting on the porch drinking his coffee, and John Henry Irons is in the Winnebago, and he's like, hey, neighbor, But then if he has to go be Superman, he's going to go fly off and fly down as Superman to talk to him.
Yeah, if I had a wife who's like X from another world, not X, but,
Right.
Who's, this is probably not the right term, widow. It only applies to women, but, we're just going to use it here anyways.
A man could be a widower.
A widower.
Yeah.
Anyways, my wife's widower from another dimension comes over. I would
go.
be more like...
We keep an eye on that.
I'd be a little like, hon, you stay inside. This guy...
this dude that was going to stab me with a spear, like, a day or two ago.
I'll just raise my coffee mug to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he like a little worried that Lois might re-fall in love with this dude? If it happens in the other dimension, it can happen here.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? And maybe that is the reason why Superman does turn evil on this. Oh no, I think they're implying that he's evil because of the other Kryptonians. We'll see. But that kind of implies that maybe there's going to be an interesting Kryptonian person. And so far, the only one that's been interesting has been Leslie Lar, right?
I like her.
Yeah. So unless they bring some kind of charismatic, cool Kryptonian that's going to like try.
I know. We can turn Gum Explode guy into a Kryptonian, and he would be awesome.
Who?
Gum Explode guy.
Gum Explode guy. I was like, who the hell are you talking about? Yeah, that guy that was like a weapon. Yeah, okay, that criminal. Maybe, yeah, I don't know if they'll turn him into a criminal. Maybe.
That would be awesome. I say we need a reappearance for that dude.
She's a fan of Gum Explode guy. I forget what the hell his name was. Whatever. But not a fan of the singing of Jordan and Sarah singing. Okay. Well, anyway, listen, that's it for tonight's episode. Pepper, thank you so much for joining me. Guys, in the comments, tell us what you thought about this episode. What do you think about the show in general? And, I think that there's 15 episodes altogether. I don't know if we're going to make it through the whole season, but I do have fun talking to my daughter about it. So, guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you